turkey manicotti. That's right, it's the day after Thanksgiving. You've had the sandwiches, you've had the reheats, and now you're looking for something completely different to use up the last of those leftovers, and this could be it. Two things we generally don't have in a traditional Thanksgiving meal would be cheese and tomato. So that's why I think this is going to work so well, and here is how you do it. So step one, we're going to make a very eggy crepe batter. So I have 2 large eggs, some all-purpose white flour, some cold water, a pinch of salt, and a little bit of olive oil. And then we're going to take our whisk and we're going to mix this very, very thoroughly. No lumps, so give it a real good working over. Sometimes I'll actually do this in a blender so it's super smooth, but I just did not want to dirty a blender, so I'm using the whisk. So work that over with the whisk until it's completely smooth, and it's going to look like basically a thin pancake batter. All right? When that's done, you're going to wrap that up, and you're going to let it sit in the fridge for 1 hour at least. You want to give that flour time to hydrate, so we're going to let it rest for a while. And while we're in the fridge, we might as well grab our turkey leftovers and get the filling ready. And because this filling is so deliciously cheesy and moist, this is perfect for the driest, most unappealing of your leftovers. But of course, my turkey was so moist, even these scraps from the end of the breast are still pretty succulent. But regardless, whatever you have, I want you to chop it up. We don't want giant chunks, but we also don't want it minced. We want to be able to tell we're biting into meat. So when that's chopped, we're going to throw that into a mixing bowl, and then we're going to add the rest of the traditional manicotti filling ingredients. First of which would be whole milk ricotta cheese. We're going to throw in an egg. I'm going to do a pinch of dried marjoram, just for a change of pace. A little bit of red pepper flake, because I'm not using cayenne in this recipe. What? That's right. So some red pepper flakes. We need some salt, of course, some mozzarella cheese, and some finely grated Parmesan. And then just to give it some nice color, some nice freshness, and help with our post-Thanksgiving detox, a nice big handful of fresh chopped Italian parsley. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and take our spatula and give that a thorough mixing. So once that's thoroughly combined, you can just set that aside until our crepes are made. If it's going to be a while, just refrigerate this. You can actually make this ahead, no problem. So that's done, and it's on to the crepe making. I have a nonstick skillet over medium-high heat. I'm going to brush it fairly generously with olive oil. Then I'm going to dump in a 1/4 cup or so of the batter, and you want to swirl it around, tilt the pan, so it covers as much of the bottom as you can. All right, do not obsess over it being perfectly round, does not matter at all. And again, we're on medium-high heat, so these are going to cook really quick. So I'm going to say it's about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes per side. You're going to flip it over. The side you started with is going to be sort of lighter and smoother. And that second side, as you'll see here, is going to have these little golden brown dimples. Those are very cute, I think. And once they're done, you can just pile them up on a plate. All right, they're not going to stick together, so no worries. So as you cook them, just pile them up. If you're doing a whole bunch, you can have 2 pans going at once. All right? And once your crepes are done, we are ready for final assembly. And before we start stuffing our crepes, we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of tomato sauce in the bottom of our baking dish. I'm doing a pretty small batch here. I'm only making 4. You can obviously do more and use a bigger pan, of course. And once your baking pan is prepped, you're ready to start stuffing your manicotti. I like to put that golden brown dimpled side down. All right, so we're going to put the filling on the smoother side. So I'm going to scoop on 1/4 of my filling, and then you just roll it up. Nothing complicated. Now I like to tuck in my sides. That's totally optional. I've had this many times where it's just rolled up and the ends are left kind of floppy. Whatever you're into. Some people like them tucked, some people like them floppy. All right, you are the boss of your little muffs. Which, by the way, is what manicotti means in Italian, little muffs. And of course, muff being one of those fur-lined tubes that you use to keep your hands warm. All right, so you're going to roll that up. You're going to place that in your baking dish. And right here I realized, that crepe is touching the edge. So I went around with a little bit of olive oil that I used to grease the pan with. So I did that 3 more times. I placed those in. And then we're going to go down with some extra sauce on top, but mostly down the middle. And this is mostly an appearance thing. We want some of the manicotti to be saucy, but it's nice to have a little bit of exposed crepe so you get a little bit of browning in the oven. So I'm going to put my sauce over like that. I'm going to grate over some more Parmesan. And last but not least, a very light drizzling of olive oil, just a few drops here and there, just to moisten the surface. Makes it look like you know what you're doing. And those beautiful little muffs are ready for the oven. So we're going to place that in a preheated 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. And when they're done, they look like this, which I think looks pretty beautiful. So they're going to be a little puffed up when you first take them out, but they will deflate slightly as they cool. Speaking of cool, you want to let these sit at least 5 minutes before you serve them. They will just be too hot to enjoy. So while we're waiting, let's give them a little garnish of Parmesan cheese, a little more fresh Italian parsley, and that's it! Turkey Manicotti! And who would have thought this was inspired by trying to get rid of leftovers? It looks like we totally did this on purpose. Of course, if you wanted to serve some extra sauce on these, you could, but you know what? I don't. For me, it's not about the sauce. It's all about that cheesy, amazing filling and that tender, eggy, pasta-like crepe. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And yes, many versions do use those pasta tubes, but I think the crepe is so much nicer for this and really not hard to make. You can do the crepes ahead of time, you can do the filling ahead of time, and like you saw, a great way to use up any kind of leftover meat, especially turkey that you're sick of and you don't want to taste like turkey anymore. So whether it's right after Thanksgiving or just any time of the year, I hope you